Hello, moms. Welcome. For those of you who are new to this group, I'm Brianna, and I am an empowerment coach for teen girls and young women. And I posted earlier today that I wanted to do, this isn't going to be very long. Unless there are those of you who have questions for me, then we can make this as long as we want. But I really just wanted to come on here and talk about why self-esteem is so important for your daughter. And so, the best way that I can talk about this is I actually have like a little poster. It's like a giant Post-it. So I'm going to take this out and I want to like draw something on it. But it's interesting because I recently put out a poll. If you come in live, it doesn't tell me who's here. So please let me know if you're joining me live or if you're watching the replay. But I recently put out a poll in this group, and it was interesting because I don't remember the mom's name, but one of the moms said, because I put like, what is the biggest concern, or what's the biggest issue that is going on with your daughter at the time? And there was like anxiety, depression, self-esteem, self-harm. There was a bunch of different things, and anxiety and depression were at like the top. That was the one that got the most votes, but right underneath it was self-esteem. And one of the moms wrote, she said, I feel like everything stems from self-esteem. And I was like, yes, exactly, everything stems from self-esteem. So that's exactly how it works. So I want to just I want to draw a little. So let me show you. So here's my giant Post-it. So I wanna just, let me do something right now. I'm gonna draw this out. It would be nice if I had an easel, so that would make this great, but I don't. So we're gonna just work with what I've got. So I wanna put self-esteem at the top here. Okay, we've got self-esteem. Okay. Excuse my lovely writing. Wait, let me make sure you can see this. Okay, so we've got self-esteem right here. Okay. Let me show you all of the things. Oh, hi, Becky. So true. Thank you. Okay, so we've got self-esteem. It's at the top, right? But all of these other things stem down from the self-esteem. So what's one of them? We've got self-harm, okay, or cutting. Okay, that's one of them. What's something else? What about eating disorder? Sorry, I'm trying to do this so you can see it. I'm not blocking it. Let me do my best. So here's another one. Eating disorder is another one. What about drugs? Okay. What about if your daughter is having sex? Okay. What about what else? Give me any others for those of you who are live. What else? Also just like, getting into bad grades. Bad grades is another one. Okay, so here's some of the things. Can you see this? Let me move this. Okay, so when self-esteem is at the top, right? But if your daughter has poor self-esteem and if she's struggling with the self-esteem, it's going to affect every single area of her life. So if she's getting into like self-harm, cutting, eating disorder, drugs, or alcohol is another one. Okay, if your daughter is having, I don't have much more room for my head. So if your daughter is having sex, right? If she's, bullying. Thank you, Connie. Thanks. Another one. Bullying. Yes. Okay, so I know there's more. I'm forgetting some of them, but these are some of the big ones, right? So these are, hold on, I'm trying to trying to get this so you can see it all, moms. Okay, so these are all of the things that stem from self-esteem not being there, okay? So let me put this down and I just want to talk about it. And I know there's others. I'm forgetting some, but we can go on and on with this one. But let me just put that down for a second. So here's the big thing. When your daughter is not loving herself, she doesn't know how to love herself, she doesn't have confidence within herself, all of these different areas of her life suffer, okay? And I really want to pinpoint this, like confidence and self-esteem, they kind of go together, right? And I've talked about this before, but it's really important. Confidence is a skill, okay? It is not something that your daughter is either born with or she's not born with it. And if she doesn't have it, then she's doomed forever and she's never gonna get it. That is totally not true. That's not the way it works, okay? For those of you who have been in this group, I talk about my own journey a lot, okay? I used to have really poor self-esteem. I did not love myself. I didn't know how to love myself. That just seemed very hard. I didn't even understand like the whole self-love, like what was that, right? And so there was really no one that was showing me or teaching me what it was going to take to love myself, right? I didn't start that journey until my early 30s. This is why I do this work, because I know that if I had someone, a coach, a mentor, someone that could have taught me how to love myself, my entire life would have been dramatically different. It would have been so different. But I will also say this, I had to go through the journey that I went through, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be doing this incredible work that I'm doing right now with teen girls and young women. So I know that it served its purpose for me. But here's the thing. For your daughter, is her lack of self-love, is her poor self-esteem, is it serving a purpose right now? Or is now the time that she can really start learning how to love herself? This work is so important. It is not being taught in schools. It is not being taught most places, right? Go to college. Do they have college classes on self-love? God, that would be really great, but they don't, right? The only reason I stumbled upon learning how to love myself is because I kind of went into a dark place of not liking my life, not being happy with really anything that was going on. On the outside, I've talked about this before, but like I'll say it again because I know there's a lot of new moms in this group. On the outside, my life looked perfect. I had a really nice job. I was making good money. I lived in a really nice place. Like, everything on the outside looked great, but everything on the inside was kind of like shit, right? Like, I just didn't feel good. I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled, but I didn't really know, like, what was it? What was that one thing? What was the one thing? And I've also talked about this before as well, but it's like, I thought that one thing was me getting into a relationship, was me finding my Prince Charming who was going to rescue me, save me, and was going to give me all the love that I needed. And that is what is happening with so many teen girls and young women today. They are seeking out that love that they do not have for themselves, and they seek it out in someone else. Why do you think there are so many teen girls and young women that are getting into these toxic relationships, right? They're getting into these abusive relationships because at the beginning, they don't seem so toxic. at the beginning, they don't seem like they're abusive relationships, but they, you know, there are people out there that can manipulate, right? That they can manipulate your daughter. They can get her to really, I don't know. It's like what's the term I'm looking for? I don't know. I mean, I once went out with a narcissist, and he was very, very charming at the beginning, and he said all of like the right things, and I was like, oh my God, like, who is this guy? Like, I'm just like, I felt like I was living like a little fairy tale, right? Now, it didn't get so bad because I saw the signs and I got out of the relationship before it could have gotten really bad. But it's really interesting because self-esteem, this is what your daughter needs to work on in order to have the kind of life that she wants for herself and that you want for your daughter. It's so important. It is everything. So like, as far as, you know, what I wrote on the diagram, like the self-harm, the cutting. I mean, how many of you, whether you're watching the live or the replay, I mean, how many of you have daughters that are, that was me when I was young. Thank you, Becky. Yeah, exactly. Like, you get what I'm talking about. And so, like, you know, for those of you who are watching, like, how many of your daughters are cutting or doing some other form of self-harm? I mean, that goes back to, what is your daughter's relationship with herself? How does she feel about herself? Because let me tell you, if your daughter loves herself, she is not going to be taking a razor blade or taking any other thing and using that to cut on her arm or her leg or whatever. That's not going to happen if she loves herself. End of story. It's not. What about, I put eating disorder on there, right? I'm going to share, you know, I did an interview with one of my closest friends, Kristen Riley. She's an amazing coach, and she battled with her very own eating disorder for, I want to say, like 17 years, some crazy number like that. And she's like, her story is so inspiring and motivating. We did an interview months ago. I will share that again in this group if you want to watch that. But it was really incredible. But with her and her story, so yeah, self-esteem. Was she loving herself when she was, you know, when she was forcing herself to throw up 10 times a day? No, she wasn't loving herself. No one had taught her how to do that work. Or was she loving herself when she was starving herself? No, she wasn't loving herself, because if you love yourself, you don't do that to yourself or your body, right? You just don't. So an eating disorder, this is something else. The self-esteem is at the top, and all of these things are coming from poor self-esteem and not loving yourself. Let's go to the next one. What did I write? Okay, like drugs and alcohol. I mean, how many of your daughters are getting into this? Or how many of you moms are concerned that your daughter is going to go to a party and you don't know what's going to happen, right? Like, you're unsure. Is my daughter going to be safe? Is she going to make the right choices, the right decisions? Let me tell you how your daughter will make the right choices and the right decisions when she is loving herself. When she is loving herself, when she is confident in who she is, right? Then she can go to a party. She can go to a party, and maybe there are going to be some kids that are doing some drugs or alcohol or whatever. And she's going to be so strong within who she is that she can say, no, thank you, and walk away from that. She doesn't have to partake in the drugs or the alcohol or the pot or whatever else is going on around her, because peer pressure is a real thing, and a lot of your daughters are experiencing it, right? And I don't know how many of your daughters are sharing that with you, or maybe they're not, but this stuff is happening, right? But it takes a strong person to be like, no. Or even if maybe it's a party and she knows it's just going to be like a bunch of people hooking up and drinking and smoking and all of this stuff, and then it takes a big person to be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to that. It's not really what I'm feeling, doesn't feel good for me to put myself into that sort of situation, right? Let's go to another one. Sex. That's a big one. So we got self-esteem up here, right? And what's going on with sex with your daughter? And it doesn't have to be just sex, right? Intimacy, dating and relationships, and all that comes with it. I know when I was young, I didn't have a clue on any of that. And I remember that not all of my friends, but a lot of my friends were like hooking up, having sex like it was no big deal. And I was just like, I was sort of on the opposite side of that. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. Because I was at a place where like I couldn't even get a guy to look at me, let alone go on a date with me. So I was a little bit different than all of my friends. But I had so many friends that, you know, and like people that I knew, and I was just like, they treated sex like it was no big thing. Like, oh yeah, I had sex. Okay. Really? No big deal? So that's a big issue. And so here's the thing. I mean, so many girls struggle with this because they want to be liked. They want to have, you know, they want whoever they're with to like approve of them and want them to, let's say your daughter is dating a boy, right? And let's say he pressures her and he wants to, you know, have sex. Maybe she's not ready, but is she going to have the strength within her to say, no, I'm not ready for this. I don't want to. Or is she going to just give in because that's what the guy wants and she wants the guy to like her? And you know, and then she gives in, and then what? And then she's going to later regret it because she did something that she didn't want to do, that she was pressured into it. This whole sex, intimacy, relationship thing, I mean, I haven't talked a lot about it, but it is something that I really feel strongly that we should talk more about this. Maybe we'll do another Facebook Live just on that. But that is a real big issue today with teen girls and young women. And, you know, so much of this work, like confidence, the self-esteem, it's like learning that, yes, you can say no. And guess what? If someone doesn't like your no, if you are dating a boy, right, and the guy doesn't like you because you said no, is that someone you want to be in a relationship with? No, it's not. So sex is another, like the intimacy, dating, relationships, the toxic relationships and abusive relationships. This all stems from the self-esteem, right? Not loving yourself, the lack of the confidence, okay? This is also where it goes. What's another thing that I put? Like bad grades, okay? So if your daughter is not confident in herself, there is going to be something that happens, which is kind of like this lack of motivation. How many of your daughters have sort of just, I don't know, I mean, I read your posts. I know a lot of you moms are saying that your daughters just don't have the motivation. I know there's a lot of girls that they're confusing sex with love. Yes, Becky, they are confusing sex with love. Yes, exactly. Thank you for sharing that. It's so true. They are. So going back to the, the bad grades and the lack of motivation, if your daughter doesn't believe, let's say, she doesn't think that she's smart enough. She doesn't feel like she's good enough. She doesn't feel like she can do anything right. Then some girls, it can go both ways, okay? So some girls can go to the point of perfectionism and everything has to be done perfect. And when it's not, they stress themselves out and all of this pressure that they put on themselves, that's like one way that they can go. But another way that they can go also is just like giving up. They're like, well, if I can't do this, why bother? Like, I'm not even going to try. So I'm just going to give up, right? So there's a big, with a lot of teen girls and a lot of young women, it's like this lack of motivation, like why even bother? Why try? So that, where is that stemming from? That's stemming from their self-esteem, their self-worth, their self-value, how they see themselves. how they feel about themselves, right? This all stems from the self-esteem. Okay, so there's so many things that stem from the self-esteem, and it's really important if you want your daughter to live her best life. It's so important that you're not just looking like, if your daughter, let's say she's cutting or she's self-harm, right? That's an issue. Or if your daughter has an eating disorder, it's so important that you're not just tackling the eating disorder. It's not about the food. If your daughter is cutting, it's not just about the cutting, it's what's underneath that. And a lot of this has to do, I didn't share this before, but trauma. Trauma is a big thing, right? And so if your daughter has been through any sort of trauma, and let me tell you something about trauma, because I feel like sometimes we don't really realize kind of what trauma can be. We almost think like trauma has to be the worst thing possible that can ever happen to anyone, right? So we go like in our heads like, oh, trauma is, molestation or, being abused or something like that, right? Those are examples. Yes, those are examples of trauma. But there can be other examples of trauma where you might not think that it's traumatic, but it is for your daughter. For example, let's say your daughter is, let's say she's maybe her friends turn on her, right? And so some of her like best friends want nothing to do with her anymore. Okay? That can feel like major trauma. And let me tell you something else. Your daughter can also get PTSD from that or other things that happen to her, other traumatic experiences. Okay? So trauma is something that also definitely that needs to be looked at as well. But the trauma, it is related. We got to go back to the self-esteem as well. So there's just so much I can talk about with this topic, but it's really what I really want to get across here in this Facebook Live. And by the way, if you are watching live, please, I know Becky, you've been commenting, so thank you, but let me know what you're thinking or any comments, or even if you have any questions, like I want to hear from you. What's going on with your daughters right now? Let me help you. That's, this is the beauty of going live on these, on the Facebook Lives. So if you have any questions or you want to ask me anything, I'm here. But this is why I think like this whole piece, this self-love piece it's so important. And this is a big thing that is missing in, like I said before, it's missing in schools. They're not getting it there. So like, where are they getting it, right? Are they learning how to love themselves from their friends? I don't think so. So are they learning how to love themselves from like their teachers? I mean, they're not being taught this. So this is why I'm so passionate about this work. This is why I have put together my 6-week, which it hasn't come out yet, but it is going to very shortly. But like my 6-week Unstoppable You, it's my 6-week online group coaching program. It's coming out very soon. This is why I put out my free empowerment masterclass series. By the way, if you haven't signed up for it, please sign up for it. It's free, but this is why I do this work. This is important. This is what is going to change your daughter's life forever. And because you are in this group, I'm assuming your daughter is maybe she's a teen, maybe she's a young woman, or maybe she's even younger, even better, right? The earlier they can get this, the earlier that your daughter can learn how to love herself, her life will change forever. It just will. Connie, my daughter is 17 and is going pretty everything you have mentioned. Do you mean she's going through everything I have mentioned? Is that what you mean? Going through pretty everything. I think that's what you mean. Can you elaborate a little bit more, Connie? Because I'd love to speak to what you just said. Thank you. So it's super important that, if your daughter is struggling with any of the things that I talked about, I've talked about before, like therapy, right? And if your daughter is going to therapy, and if your daughter is only talking about, you know, like the surface level stuff and not really getting to the root of what the real issue is, then it doesn't really help anything. So it's so important to get to the root issue of how your daughter is feeling. But on top of that, on top of getting to the root, it's so important for your daughter to learn how to love herself. Oh, I forgot to put depression on my diagram. Depression, that's another thing. Oh my gosh, how many of your daughters are suffering from depression right now, right? A lot of, I mean, you know, people can say, oh, okay, depression is a disease, and if you have depression, you're always going to struggle with it for the rest of your life. I do not believe that. I do not believe that if your daughter has depression, then it is something that she's going to have to struggle with for the rest of her life. I do not buy into that, because I have seen from my clients personally, girls that have come to me with severe depression, and within a few months, they don't have it, okay? Now, yes, every girl is different, right? But, you know, one of the interviews that I have shared in this group with my client, Trisha, right? I don't know if you've seen that. If you haven't, you can watch it. But with Trisha, she came to me and she was suffering from major anxiety, major depression. She was crying all the time. She didn't even know why. Worked with her for 3 months, and she told me, she's like, I feel like my depression is gone. I feel like I don't even have it anymore. Just to be sure, I have reached back out to her because we don't work together anymore. But from time to time, I love her and I want to just, you know, see how she's doing. She's doing amazing. She just went to Europe. She's she's just doing all of these amazing things in her life. She's enrolled in college. I mean, she was struggling big time when I had met her. So the depression, does she have it anymore? No, she doesn't. But here's the thing, when it's not to say that she might not ever feel like sadness come in again, right? It's not to say that she might never feel some bouts of it that might try to creep its way back into her life. But here's the thing, because she has learned the tools and the skills to help her deal with it, she knows exactly what to do. And let me tell you something. The key to all of this, the self-esteem, the self-love, self-worth, self-value, like all of it, right? It's all in here. It's in here. It's your daughter's mindset. It's what she is saying to herself every day. It's what she is thinking. It's how she is feeling. This is what contributes to however your daughter, whatever is going on with your daughter's life. It all starts from her mindset. This is one of the big things that I do when I work with girls and young women. We've got to reprogram this. This gets all jumbled up. So many of us suffer from the I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this. Right? How many of you have, I mean, it's not just like that's just some of us. Oh, some of the people out there suffer from I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. It is something that I think it's like universal. Everyone has suffered from the I'm not good enough. But it's what do we do with that? Do we let that hold us back, or do we use that to help us move forward, because we're gonna work on this. We're gonna work on our mindset. We're gonna work on our confidence, our self-esteem, and our self-worth. Let me read some comments. Okay, so my daughter's 17. Okay, so thank you, Connie. Connie, is it okay if I read this out loud? I'm assuming it is because you wrote it down here, but hold on. I need to read this long. Oh, okay. Connie, can you just say, is it okay if I read this out loud? At the age of 7, and since then she was tempted to cutting down drugs at the age of 7. Okay, I'm gonna read it out loud because you wrote it here, so I hope that's okay, Connie. So she was molested at the age of 7, and since then she has attempted suicide, cutting, done drugs. At the age of 16, she was sexually assaulted by a friend's roommate. Oh my goodness. Okay. Was recently hospitalized for suicidal thoughts. The list goes on and on. She's such a sweet, loving girl and so giving, but so hard on herself. Oh, that's heavy. Connie, I just want to give you a big hug. First of all, also, Connie, I just want to acknowledge you for sharing that. I know that this is like very personal. And so thank you for being so vulnerable with me and everyone else here. So thank you. Okay, so I want to address what you wrote. So hold on one second. The list goes on and on. She was just so sweet. So I want to ask you, Connie, what have you done for, I mean, has your daughter done any sort of therapy? What has she done to help herself? Is she open to, you know, working? Obviously there's major trauma, right? So has she done any of the work? Has she worked with a counselor or a therapist or someone to really help her heal some of what has happened to her? If you can comment on that. I think that's, you know, that's really one of the words that I use so often in the work that I do with teen girls and young women is healing, right? This work is all about healing. In order for your daughter to transform her life, she's got to heal the parts of her that she feels. Now, let me say this. Your daughter is not broken. There is nothing wrong with her, but very often your daughter feels like, your daughter is going to feel like there's something wrong with her or there's something that's broken, right? So I am here to tell you that, like, there's nothing that's broken with your daughter. Here's the thing that I find so interesting with this whole self-love thing, for lack of a better word. I can't think of a better word. Self-love is already inside every single one of your daughters. It's already in there. So here's the deal. When I work with teen girls and young women, I am not like giving them, I'm not giving them self-love. They have it within them. But here's what happens. There's all this layers of whether it's trauma, bullying, you know, whatever has happened to them in their life. It's like that's what covers up this love that they have for themselves. It's already there within each and every one of your daughters. All that needs to happen, the layers that are covering it up, needs to come up and out, right? How do we do that? We do that through the healing work. We do that through growth, right? We do that through all of the, you know, like all of the work that I do with my clients. It's all about healing. Because if your daughter is not healing through the trauma that she has been through, even bullying is traumatic. If your daughter has experienced bullying in her life, and I know a lot of you moms have daughters that have experienced bullying in their lives, right? I've seen the posts, I've read them all. If your daughter has suffered from bullying or she is suffering from bullying right now, that does something to a girl's self-esteem. It does. But here's the thing that changes it all. When your daughter loves herself, when your daughter has confidence and self-worth and self-value, anyone can say whatever they want to her. But you know what she's going to do? I learned this from a coach of mine. It's kind of like, so I'm going to do what she taught me. It's like you do this. Tracy, if you're watching, this one's for you. But it's like you use your superpower and you just like, anyone can say any nasty thing to you and you're like, nope, I'm not taking that on. I'm not taking that on. So someone calls you a horrible name. No, I'm not going to take that on. Like, look at who I am. Like, I'm a superwoman or whatever you want to call yourself. But like, that's how your daughter has to become, right? Because the bullying out there is out of control. It's totally out of control. Do you agree with me? And what's happening is that these bullies are targeting, the girls that oftentimes like can't stick up for themselves or are afraid to stick up for themselves, right? And so it makes it very difficult. And so if your daughter is being bullied, right, it's going to affect her self-esteem. It's going to affect how she feels about herself, because all of this limiting bullshit can get in the way. Maybe I deserve this, right? I'm not good enough, right? Like, what other things can come up in a girl's mind if she's being bullied, right? Like, some part of her feels like maybe she deserves being treated that way. Hell no, she doesn't deserve being treated that way. This is where the self-esteem piece comes in. It is so important. What if your daughter has like self-esteem through the roof, right? Someone tries to bully her. Someone tries to pick on her at school. You think she's going to care? No. She won't be an easy target for the bullies because it doesn't bother her. It's like, whatever. Like, go like that, brush it off, right? The bullies are getting a rush out of what they're doing to these girls that don't say anything, right? And it's not okay, and it really needs to stop. But the self-esteem piece, I mean, going back, I know I'm going on a lot of I'm going in a lot of different topics here, but really it all goes back to self-esteem, self-love, confidence. And when your daughter has this self-esteem and the confidence and the self-worth, she can get through anything that comes into her life, because she's going to believe that she can get through anything. And she can. She can when she has that belief within herself. It all starts right here. It all starts right here. So for those of you who are live, let me just scroll down. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Connie, you were replying yes and yes, and I apologize. I forgot to scroll down on this. I apologize. I asked you a couple of questions, and yes, you said yes. Okay. So Connie, I'm just going to, hey Jennifer. Connie, I'm just going to read what you're writing. She just started therapy. Oh, okay, perfect. She has coping skills, and she has made with her therapist. Perfect. So she draws and writes. She paints. My profile pic is one of her drawings. Oh my gosh, I have to. When I'm off of this, I want to see your profile pic. That's amazing. So she is able to talk to her therapist whenever she needs to talk. That's wonderful, Connie. And her therapist has to do certain exercises that have her write about her best qualities. Oh my God, I love this. So wait, let me see if you wrote more, Connie. Okay, so Connie, I guess my next question, if you are still live, how is your daughter doing right now then? It sounds like she's getting good support with her therapist. So how is she doing right now? And let me just read this. Oh, hi, Jennifer. So hi, Brianna. It's terrible worse than. Yes, it is worse than what was going on with like my age or your age. It's gotten so much worse. I mean, if we go back to like the bullying, right? Like when kids were bullied when I went to school, it stopped at school, right? It didn't continue. Now we have social media and it follows them wherever they go. So it's like, unless your daughter is getting off of like the social media and all of that, it follows her everywhere. And yeah, we didn't have that. I didn't have that. You didn't have that when we went to school. Becky, thank you for your comment. My daughter learned to advocate for herself. That really empowered her. I love that. Thank you, Becky. I'm just curious, how did she learn to advocate for herself? Did she learn it from you? Amazing. That's so wonderful. Hi, Wendy. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, any other moms that are live here, please, if you have any questions, leave a comment right now. I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions. And yeah, I think that this is, you know, it's such an important topic, and so much, I mean, just to kind of like recap everything that I have said, so much falls from this one thing of the self-esteem and the self-love and the confidence, right? And just to recap, in case you came in the middle of this and you didn't watch it from the beginning, you know, confidence, self-love, this is something that your daughter can learn today. This is a skill. It is not something that you have to be born with. So it is very much a skill, just like anything. Like you wanna get big muscles, what do? You go to the gym, you lift some weights, right? And do you do it one time, or do you keep going back to the gym? You keep going back if you want big muscles, right? So the same thing for like self-esteem and self-love. If your daughter wants this, you know, she's gonna have to work at it. It's gonna require some effort, right? It's gonna require your daughter to put in some work, right? But the payoff is worth it. It is worth it because it's not just the work that she is putting in right now. This is going to affect the rest of her entire life. And so, you know, it's interesting because when I first started on my, you know, like my spiritual and personal development, I read lots of books, right? Like if you came over to my house right now, like there are books like all over the place, because that's what I started. When I started doing this work on myself, I just was like reading like crazy. It's like more books. I wanted more information. How can I love myself? How can I love myself, right? I was like addicted, okay? So, but that only took me so far. Reading it out of a book I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't do anything, because I love reading this stuff in books. But it only does so much. Then it's like, okay, what are you going to do after that? Because what I have found, and because, you know, I have shared this openly with all of you, that like I have coaches in my life, right? I feel like every single person needs a coach, needs someone to hold them accountable, help them through life, through all of the challenges that we go through. It's like, how different like our lives could be if we just like all had coaches, right? It would be so cool. But it's interesting because when I started investing in coaches for myself, I really saw my life like kind of go from here to like here. Because there's a lot of stuff when we're doing this like inner work, when we're doing this healing work on ourselves, there's a lot of things that we might not be aware of, that we might not be able to see so clearly. And it takes somebody else to come in and say, this is what I'm seeing, right? And this is what you can be doing differently, you know? And so I think, you know, I think back on the time when I was a teen girl. And yes, I had like, you know, I had a really good relationship with my mom. I still do, but I didn't get any of this, like this self-love. I didn't learn this from my mom. I didn't learn it from my dad. I didn't learn it anywhere, right? It took me getting to, you know, when I was in my early 30s and me realizing that I just didn't want to live my life this way anymore. It wasn't the kind of life that I wanted to live. So I had to make some changes, some major changes in my life. And I did that. And I am so grateful and so thankful that I continued on this path. Because if I had given up on myself, if I had said, you know what, this is getting a little hard, I'm going to stop this. Or if I had said to myself, you know what, it's not worth it anymore, I'm just going to go back to being old me. Gosh, where would I be right now? I wouldn't be talking. I would not be having this Facebook group. I would not be coaching teen girls and young women. It's like everything would be completely different. And so what is so important is like the potential that each and every one of your daughters has, like the gifts that lie in each and every one of your daughters, the passions, like what they're here to do. Let me tell you something, moms. If your daughter doesn't love herself, then she is going to give up on these passions. These, if she has a big dream of being a doctor one day, or being a teacher, or whatever she wants to do with her life, I don't care what it is. But if she has these big dreams to do something big with her life, if she doesn't have the self-esteem to back up that dream, do you know that all it takes is one person to poo-poo on her dream, to say you don't have what it takes to do that? That is all that it takes for your daughter to shut down her dream. Done. Just like that. It only takes one comment, one person. That's it. What happens when your daughter has this high self-esteem, this confidence that is like unstoppable? And let's say your daughter wants to be some doctor one day, right? And let's say she goes to the counselor at school, or a friend, or whomever says to her, I don't think you're not going to be able to be a doctor. Your grades aren't good enough. Who do you think you are? If your daughter's confidence is up here, if she loves herself so much, you know what she's going to do with that comment? She's going to brush it off like she didn't even hear it. That's why this work is so important, right? So many of us, I did another Facebook Live on like, how we're not all of us, but a lot of us, like we care so much about what other people say about us, what other people think about us. And chances are your daughter does as well, right? Self-esteem it's everything. Let me see. I haven't been looking at the comments. So, okay, Connie, thank you for responding. Okay, so she still struggles every day. She has good days and bad days. She has a couple of good friends, and I encourage her to stay with them as much as possible. She's with one of them right now. That's wonderful. I mean, yeah, it's, it might not be realistic for your daughter to only have like really, really good days. I mean, yeah, there's going to be some bad days that are mixed in there, but I'm really happy to hear that she has a couple of really good friends. Like that's really, really important. So I'm happy to hear that. Becky, thank you for your comment. Her school, a school for girls here in Florida. Amazing. Oh, back to my question, because I asked you, where did she learn how to advocate for herself? And you said it's a school for girls there in Florida. Amazing. I love that. Sounds like an incredible school. Wendy, thank you for your comment. I'm always looking for tips to help my 13-year-old daughter with her struggles. I believe she has no self-love or care for anything but her hair and makeup. Yes, I was there. Wendy, did you see I don't know how long you've been in this group, but did you see my Facebook Live where I just cut off my hair? I just chopped off my hair a couple of days ago, and I did a Facebook Live. So if you haven't caught that, watch it. But I talked about how for so long I thought that having long hair is what, made me beautiful. And so I never wanted, yes, I trimmed my hair, but I never wanted to really cut it because I thought I would not be beautiful if I didn't have that long hair. And then I really had to recently, I was like, that is some old messed up belief that is no longer serving me. I don't believe in anymore. So why do I still try to have long hair? And so I cut it off. It's back right now. You can't see it, but watch that Facebook Live if you haven't caught it. But to go back to, Wendy, to go back to what you were saying, yeah, so I'm just wondering, Wendy, what have you tried anything, to work with your daughter on how to get her to, start looking beyond what, like the physical beauty, right? The hair, the makeup. Because that's how I was back then as well. I mean, when I was a teen girl, I had horrible acne. It was horrible. It was just, and it was like, it wasn't bad. It didn't just last in like high school. I had acne from around like 15 until like my early 30s. And like, that's a long time to have acne, right? Also, I had really poor self-esteem. So it was like the acne, and then, every time I looked in the mirror, I was like, I felt so dirty. I was like, oh my God, I can't handle, like, it was so hard. So I understand what it's like for your daughter, Wendy, and I'm sure other moms, here as well. It's like when your daughter, it's like, there's no self-love there. And yeah, it's like what they think of beauty is like all on the exterior, right? The hair, the clothes, the makeup, the weight, right? That's all. A lot of girls, that's like what they think is like how they're presenting themselves to the world. So thank you for that, Wendy. Jennifer, thank you. Yes, everyone needs coaching, even coaches. Yay, Jennifer, I love that. Yes, even us coaches need coaches. Yes, because Jennifer, you're a coach as well. Yeah, and it's like, I have a coach too. Guess what? On Thursday, I'm going to see my coach, Myrna. I don't see her very often, but I haven't seen her for a couple of months. I love her dearly. She's amazing at what she does. And so yeah, I cleared my schedule for the day, and I'm going to drive to Orange County, and I'm gonna see my coach. Because you know why I do that? It's not because I'm like down in the dumps and I really need like a pick me up. No, I'm actually doing really, really good in my life. But here's the deal. A coach is just going to make it that much better. So it doesn't really matter where you're at. You can be in the worst place in your life, or you can be doing really, really, really well. But both places, you can still benefit from having a coach. So, and I know, Jennifer, I'm sure you agree with that. So, Wendy, thank you for your other comment. I went through the same. It took until I was in my early 30s, just like me, Wendy. Yeah, to love who I am. Oh my God, I love that you're there now. That's amazing. So my daughter struggles with weight and trying to fit in with the wrong people in school. Yeah, it's like, it's such a huge thing that I feel like so many girls are struggling with, like, right? It's like they have to fit in. And they feel like they have to look a certain way to fit in, right? So, and a lot of girls struggle with weight, right? If they're not a certain weight, then they feel like they're not going to be accepted. They feel like they're going to be judged, all of that. And so, for some girls, it might be weight. For other girls, it can be something entirely different. But there's so much emphasis placed on our looks, how we look, and it's like, none of that freaking matters. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Yes, thank you, Wendy. It is. Thank you, Becky. Oh my God, I'm really loving this. Normally when I come on Facebook Lives, I don't have that much interaction. This is so much fun. So what this is telling me is I'm definitely going to have to schedule my Facebook Lives more often, because what I'm guessing is because I told you when I was going to do this Facebook Live. I'm guessing that's how like more of you are here. So I'm definitely going to have to do more of that. I'll schedule more of my Facebook Lives because I love connecting with all of you. It's like really fun. Okay. So Wendy, I'm new a couple weeks, and yes, I watched it. Oh, awesome. I'm glad you watched it, Wendy. She has long hair and is all about how it looks and her makeup. Yes, at 13, she is lucky. I allow it what she does wear. Okay, perfect. I'm 37 and I still get breakouts. Laugh out loud. Wendy, I'm 38, so I've only got a year on you. But it's interesting because, yeah, my breakouts, I really had to look at the foods that I was eating. I'm not saying food was everything, but food was like a big thing. Like I was a major coffee drinker for really long time, I don't drink coffee anymore. Coffee makes me break out, but I never realized, I'd never put like two and two together. I didn't realize that coffee was causing breakouts. It wasn't just that though. I'm dairy free, gluten free. I try not to eat much sugar. Although I did cheat last night when I went out with a friend and we had these donuts for dessert. They were so good. I couldn't stop eating them. But yeah, so I think a big part, you know, and everyone's skin is different, but I really had to take a look at what I was eating and what I was putting into my body. So yeah, absolutely, Jennifer. Thank you, Wendy. I try to let her, it's not about that, it's what's inside that counts. Yes, exactly, Wendy. And that's just one of my issues. Thank you for your feedback, much appreciated. Thank you so much, Wendy. I love your comments. And hi, Sherry. I don't know if you're still here. My daughter is insecure about her arm hair. Yeah, it's like, you know, here's the deal. Like we all have these like insecurities. Like your daughter, it's like her arm hair. For me, it was like, I was obsessed with like my hair and always like looking perfect. Like, does my hair look great right now? Whatever. Like, I don't even care anymore. But it's like, you know, and then my insecurities was having like acne for like, you know, off and on for 15 years. And then like other girls have like, we all have our stuff, right? Every single mom here, I'm sure we all have like, none of us are perfect, right? There's like an insecurity, like we all have something, right? And many of us have learned how to like, you know, not let that really, I don't know if it's like hold us back or just kind of like let that go. And then some of us like still struggle with it. I'm going to be like real and honest with all of you. Like I am not perfect. Like, yes, I'm a coach, but I still have my days sometimes where I'm like, I might have a day. Now, let me tell you, like the days where I feel like this are few and far between right now, but I still occasionally have some days where I'm like, I might not feel like my most beautiful, right? But it's like, but when I feel that, I really have to check myself. I really have to check in with myself as well and ask myself, is this how I want to be showing up for myself? I have to ask myself like I've done all of this work on myself. So I have to use the tools and skills that I share with the girls that I work with. I use them for myself. It's funny because like everything that I have, you know, everything that I teach the girls that I work with, I've done them for myself. And a lot of the stuff, like I continue to do it for myself. Why? Because it works. So I will do anything that works. If it works, it means it's worth my time. If it's worth my time, it's worth your daughter's time. So yeah, it's really interesting. So yeah, like I'm not perfect. I have my days, I have my moments, but it's like, I think what's really important is like how quickly we can like pick ourselves back up, right? How quickly can we just be like, no, I'm not doing this. We're not going down that road. And like, that's kind of like what I have to do. When I get that little voice in my head that starts playing with me saying like, you know, some mean stuff, I'm like, no, sorry. We're not doing that today, but thank you. I do some other stuff, you know, as well. But this is also like another reason why you know, I've shared before, like, why do I work out all the time? I don't work out all of the time, but I work out, you know, consistently. Why do I do yoga? Why do I do breath work? Why do I, you know, why do I do all of these things? Because I want to feel my very best. And I can't feel my very best unless I do these things in my life. So, you know, something that, you know, I talk about in this Facebook Live, it's like, everything is in here. Yes. So much of it is what is going on in between your daughter's ears, right? Right in here. But on top of that, it's like, what is your daughter doing to help herself like feel good within herself, right? Exercise. Is she eating right? Is she, you know, is she meditating? Is she doing yoga? Has she ever tried breath work? Has she, you know, things like this. These are all things that she can be doing like right now. Like she can start today doing these things to really help her start feeling good in her life. That's why I do this stuff. That's why I don't stop. It's important to me. So let me just scroll down. Oh, okay. I struggled as a teen with that as well. Eventually, oh, you're talking to Sherry about her daughter. Okay, tell her she's beautiful and God made her that way. Exactly. God made us like however we are, God made us this way, right? So we just got to love every little piece of us, right? It's all perfection. We are perfect. And it's like, it's when we can see ourselves in that way, it's like everything changes. And it's true. Everything does change, but there is work required. Because it's interesting. I know a lot of you moms, like you're like, well, why isn't my daughter getting it? I tell her all the time that she's beautiful. I tell her all the time that, like, you know, that she is amazing. And I tell her all the time that I love her. Like, why is she still struggling with this? The reason is you can tell your daughter, and I'm not telling you to stop, continue, do that. It's wonderful. But it doesn't, at the end of the day, your daughter has to believe it for herself. You can tell your daughter all day long how much you love her, how beautiful she is, how amazing she is. But if she doesn't believe that within herself, if she doesn't believe that deep within her soul, right? If she doesn't believe that, then whatever you say to her, it's not going to make a difference. That's why going back to like this work is so important. This work is everything. So I'm just going to scroll down and keep reading. Mine more around my time. Wendy, you're so cute. My daughter also breaks out hormones. Yes, hormones play a big part. Oh yeah, my hormones, like I think because for myself, because I struggled with acne for, I mean, 15 plus years. That's a long time to be dealing with acne. My hormones did contribute to that. So I never went on, well, what I did when I was younger, I did go on birth control, not because I was having sex. I wasn't having sex at that time, but I needed something to like regulate my hormones. And sometimes it worked, but sometimes it didn't work. So the hormones definitely do play a big role in all of that. Yes. Having trouble hearing feed. Now did it go down? Okay. I've been there. People, please don't affect us for a reason. She's beautiful now, no matter what. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you. I'm not sure if Sherry wrote that or Wendy wrote that, but you guys are so sweet. I love this. I love this dialogue that's going on right now. It's wonderful. So yeah, I think this is a really such a good topic. I'm so glad that so many of you were able to come on and join me live because I love this whole interacting with you. Sometimes when I come on, I just feel like I'm talking to myself, which it's a little weird. I've gotten used to it, but I mean, I'm so appreciative of you guys like jumping on here and joining me live so we can really make this like more of a conversation. And that's what it's really all about. So if anyone has any other questions or comments, I'm happy to answer anyone. But if not, you know, just to remind you all that, you know, the free empowerment masterclass series, it's out. I will leave the link below for that. It starts February 13th. It's going to be amazing. Shortly after that is Unstoppable You. It is my 6-week online group coaching program, which I did mention earlier, but it's going to be amazing. It is life-changing. It is so transformational. And if your daughter is struggling with any of the things that I have talked about in this Facebook Live, you know, this is such a great a group for your daughter. And something that I have seen also, excuse me, I've noticed like with some of your posts, you say that my daughter doesn't want to do counseling or my daughter refuses to see a therapist. Let me just tell you that I am not a therapist. I am a coach. So I have a different approach in how I work with girls and young women. And so in the group coaching, if your daughter is like not really cool with the whole counselor therapist thing, the group coaching could be really, really good for your daughter because it is a small group of girls that are coming together and working on themselves. And they're all going to be supporting one another. And that is, it's not going to have that like therapist feel. Your daughter is not going to have to go into a therapist's office and like sit down and talk about her problems. It's not what we do. It's going to be so different. It's going to be, I'm just so excited about it. I mean, all of the information is going to be coming out really soon. So be on the lookout for that. I would love it if your daughter wants to be a part of it. You know, she can check out the information. I just want to let you know that I am doing, when I did it before, it was basically between girls of the age, I think it was like 13 to 17. For this one, I'm actually doing 2 programs. I'm doing one for 13 to 15-year-old girls, and I'm doing another for 16 to 18-year-old girls. So if your daughter, you know, is between the age of 13 to 18, you know, one of these groups would be amazing for her. So again, all the information is going to be coming out really soon. I'm super excited about it. Thank you all for being a part of this Facebook Live. I think like this was like the most fun I've ever had in a Facebook Live because there were so many of you that joined. So I will definitely make it a point to schedule these out more because I like connecting with all of you. It's really cool. So thank you for joining me. I'm sending all of you so much love, hugs, and kisses, and have a wonderful day, okay? I'll talk to you guys all soon. Bye.